In his sermon on Yom Kippur, Jonathan made the comment that we should be less concerned with who or what God is and more concerned with our relationship with him. I couldn't agree more. Although many learned theologians have devoted their lives to the endeavor, it is impossible for us to really know much about the nature of God. Even when Moses was in direct communication with God, he still wasn't allowed to see him or thoroughly understand him. Why then should we think that we can? J.B. Phillips wrote a book entitled Your God is Too Small. The premise of the book is that any concept of God that we humans create is probably incorrect, because we are trying to understand an infinite concept with a finite mind. That doesn't work. All we accomplish when we try to do that is to create a God in our own image instead of accepting that we were created in his. Even if we could accurately understand the nature of God, what good would that knowledge do for us? The only thing that really matters is how we react to and interact with the concept that we have of God, or as Jonathan said, our relationship with him. I've done my share of pondering what God is, or even if God is, but I have always done that from an academic stance. It's a great topic of thought and conversation. But in times of sorrow, joy, illness, fear, loneliness, I couldn't care less what God is. I just want to know that he's close by and available to me when I don't think that I can deal with life by myself. While I agree that our relationship to God is considerably more important than our concept of what God is, I have to say that establishing a close relationship with a God we basically don't understand is far from easy. It's often difficult forming and maintaining relationships with our fellow humans in the here and now. How then are we supposed to have a relationship with a mysterious deity who transcends us in time, space, and intelligence? The biggest problem I see in achieving a close relationship with God is where we have opted to put him. The meditation Mickey gave me to read on Yom Kippur contained the following lines. They approach the holy ark in reverence to pray for their people. O look down from the heaven in compassion upon them. They lift up their eyes unto thee and open their hearts in supplication. O do thou hear them from thy heavenly abode. In our minds, we keep God up there somewhere. When we do allow ourselves to bring him down here to earth, we keep him in a closet and open the doors when we want to communicate with him. The idea of relegating God to a special place may have originated with the Jews, but it's been carried on in modern religions too. In Roman Catholicism, the Eucharist is seen as the embodiment of God in Christ. When it's not being served to communicants, it's kept in a box called a pyx, and the pyx is often made of gold and sits on the altar. It's not available to the common person. Boxes and closets are not where we should keep God if we want to have a relationship with him. Henry David Thoreau said, "Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads." I think his point was that we need to see God in every mundane aspect of our lives, not just in the sky somewhere or in special areas of our synagogues and churches. I spent most of my life living on farms, and I think I can safely say that farmers have a closer relationship with God than just about anyone else on earth. They don't have a place they keep God. They view him as a partner in what they do all day, every day. Farmers plant seeds, but they know they are dependent on a process known only to God that turns the seeds into crops. Farmers know they are dependent on weather, controlled only by God, to make or break at harvest time. And a farmer knows that he is little more than an assistant to God when he watches the birth of a baby animal to a mother that instinctively knows how to care for it. Even if you are a city dweller who loves gardening and flowers, you know, as Thoreau did, that God is down there in the dirt too, not just up in the sky. Most of us have grown up believing that it is a sort of blasphemy to attach God to the everyday aspects of our lives, but I think the exact opposite is true. If you want to be close to God, Look for him in the ordinary part of your life. When you read a book, appreciate the God-given intellect of the author. When you look at art, give credit to the artist's God-given talent and inspiration. When you take your medicine, thank God for the ideas he gave to the researcher. You can't cook without God's gift of fire. You can't drive without God's gift of oil. You don't drink or bathe without God's gift of water. But even more than any of those things, if you want to find God, look inside yourself. Our souls and the souls of those around us are the spark of God that exists in each one of us. In another of our readings on Yom Kippur, Philo Judaeus wrote, "Do not seek for the city of God on earth, for it is not built of wood or stone, but seek it in the soul of the man who is at peace with himself and is a lover of true wisdom." I'm not saying that we are wrong in any of the ways that we have been seeking relationships with God. We're just too limited. We don't need to replace any of our thoughts or religious practices. We just need to expand them. If we don't force our God to be too small or too far away, he won't be. We need to let God out of closets and boxes and allow him to walk with us, talk with us, and get his hands dirty. If we could do that, I think we would be a lot closer to God and much happier. And I suspect God probably would be too.